Because what do stars eventually do? They implode. They burn out. All stars burn out eventually. There's a few who might survive at the end of their lives, but for the most part, things don't go well for them. That's the price you pay for living in the chaos. It's a price that many of us are either incapable of paying or don't want to pay. Either way. But if you're going to create something in your life, you're going to have a little bit of that chaos. Because it's the chaos that provides the need for change. It's the chaos that provides the need for creation. It's about understanding that there are things that you can control and focusing your energy on those things. It isn't about being peaceful and tranquil about the things you can't control. It's about not allowing your mind to focus on those things, but instead to focus on the things that you can control. Because there are those things that are really predictive of your success that you can control. You can't control your IQ, but you can control how conscientious you are. You can't control the school that you're in, but you can control how much you get out of it. You can't control who you're surrounded by, but you can control which friend groups you have. The things that you can control, you take radical control over, and by so doing, you'll find that the chaos of your life will start to narrow, and the control of your life will start to broaden. And that's exactly what it is to solve the chaos of your life. The bumper car is a controlled chaos. It's a controlled experience because you're headed straight for that person, or better yet, they're headed for somebody else, and they don't see you coming, just like I was describing you a second ago, so you hit them, and how much fun that is. But is that so much fun in your life? In other words, you have a goal in mind, and you're headed for that. You've got your head down, and you're aiming at this goal, and then all of a sudden, a car hits you, metaphorically or literally. But something comes along that just knocks you completely off that course. It's not as much fun in real life as it is in bumper cars. So bumper cars are almost like this safe microcosm or the safe metaphor for the chaos of your life. So chaos is simply that. It's just disorder. And chaos, we typically think of it as being a bad thing, and in a lot of ways it is, because it tells us that there's something that we value as humans, which is order, predictability. If one of the things that we like to be told, for example, is, all right, so what's the world going to be like in 5 years? Or like, what skill sets are you going to have in 5 years? Now, if someone comes along and tells you, you're going to have these 3 specific skills, whatever they are. We like this. So it's like, okay, good. I can move forward now. Now, what's the world going to look like in 5 years? I have no idea. And neither does the person who's telling you you're going to need these 3 skills. So for example, when I was going through college, the number one major that people were taking was computer science. Why? Because you had to, computers, right? You need computers. Computers were the present and computers are the future. We're always going to have computers. We know one thing about the future. It's going to be computers. So people just filled into computer science programs. Take a guess. What's the number one most unemployed major? English. No, not even English, you'd think, right? Yeah, computer science. Why? Because computer science a lot of times is not what you think it's going to be. And with the constant changing dynamics of computers, whatever you're learning in school and in college is not going to be the thing in 5 years, certainly not in 10 years, certainly not in 20 years. So now the number one unemployed major is anthropology, and I think computer science is number 2 now because fewer people have taken it. But even fewer people are taking it, but they're still really unemployed. So do you suppose that people who got those degrees afterwards are feeling like they were lied to? Don't we hear that kind of stuff a lot from people? Like, man, I did everything right, and it didn't work out for me. I did everything right, and I still can't find a job. I did everything they told me to do. First off, who are they? I guess secondly, why did you listen to them? And we'll get frustrated with people like, well, why'd you do what everyone told you to do? Because we like order. We don't like disorder. We like it when someone can come along and say very, very matter-of-factly, very authoritatively, listen, here's what you're going to need to do in the future to be successful. And we go, okay, order, There's a structure to it, and someone knows the order and structure, so now it's easier for me to follow it. This goes back to the talk about freedom from before the break, if you remember it. How we don't like too much freedom, because then we're responsible for the outcomes. Unfortunately, whether you're responsible for the outcomes or not, you still have to live with the outcomes, though. So if someone comes along and tells you, computer science, this is what you have to do to be successful, here's you go, and you do it, and it doesn't work out for you, you still have to live with it. The person who gave you the advice doesn't have to live with it, but you have to live with the advice that you were given. And so order is something that we really, really want, and that's why we like it when someone can come along and point us in directions or tell us what to do. Not only do we no longer now feel responsible for what we do, but we also feel like somebody who's figured it out can take us in a direction, and we'll get to where we want to go. But that's very rarely ever the case, man. But disorder and chaos does have, and it does dominate a lot of people's lives, because we feel like we're not in control of so much of our lives. And the truth is, we're not in charge of, we're not really in control of a lot of our lives. But this goes back to the stoicism thing that we were talking about earlier, which I'll say something about in just a minute. But you're not really in control of a lot. And it isn't about, as so many people wrote, attaining some level of like inner peace or tranquility. That's another silly Reddit answer that so many people wrote on their papers for the meditations. It has nothing to do with inner peace and tranquility at all. That's a very 2024 interpretation of a 2,000-year-old document, man. That's one of the problems. I'll say something about that in a minute, but it's about understanding that there are things that you can control and focusing your energy on those things. It isn't about being peaceful and tranquil about the things you can't control. It's about not allowing your mind to focus on those things, but instead to focus on the things that you can control. Because there are those things that are really predictive of your success that you can control. You can't control your IQ, but you can control how conscientious you are. You can't control the school that you're in, but you can control how much you get out of it. You can't control who you're surrounded by, but you can control which friend groups you have. The things that you can control, you take radical control over. And by so doing, you'll find that the chaos of your life will start to narrow, and the control of your life will start to broaden. And that's exactly what it is to solve the chaos of your life, is to take the things that are radically disordered and bring them into order. So chaos and disorder, it gives us something to do. So there is a value in that. When you recognize that there are chaotic aspects of your life, now you have a task. To do what? To put your life in order. To take the disorder of your life, sort it out, fix it, and bring it into order. And when you bring it into order, you bring it under your control. And you exercise your control by bringing it into order. It's a circular thing that happens. So you think about the chaos of your life. What are they? That's individual. Each person's going to have their own chaos, their own disorders. Now, going back to what we were saying earlier about the bumper cars. Bumper cars are a lot of fun because they're chaotic. Even like a merry-go-rounder can be fun because of the chaos of it. But in both cases, we understand that there are parameters, there's rules. The bumper cars only go so fast. You know that the rink is closed. Nothing from the outside is going to be coming in. A Ferris wheel, same thing. It feels like you're out of control because it's just spinning you around. But you also know that unless something goes tragically wrong, you're only going to go in this one circle like this, and that it's controlled. Now, there's a little bit of a concern there. Like, oh my gosh, what if this thing snaps and we all just roll into the ocean or something? It's the same reason that we like watching cheerleading sometimes, right? Because what are we all really hoping for when we watch the cheer team go out there? Yeah, we all want to see someone fall. We don't want it, but we want it. That'd be terrible if it happened. That's one of my friends. But wouldn't it be funny if? We don't want them to break their neck, just scuffed up a little bit. And it's like, oh my, that's terrible. Well, why do you guys watch football? Isn't it the same thing? When we watch sports, a lot of the sports, that's kind of what we're hoping for. We're not hoping for it, but we're kind of hoping for it. Why? Because we like a little bit of chaos, a little bit of interesting things tossed into our lives. We don't want the whole life to be chaotic. Because if you live your whole life chaotically, well, I don't need to tell you a whole lot about P. Diddy, do I? And it's like, wow, but he did terrible things to people, allegedly. But didn't those people show up to the party also? Did those people not know what was going on? What did you think it was going to be? Really, we all know what's going on. We just don't want it to be on video. So why would they do it? Because it's that chaos of life that makes things a little bit more interesting. We just don't like for it to be permanent and on the internet. And then sometimes the chaos and the disorder gets out of control and you end up with 57 felony indictments. Now, did he do the things he did? I don't know. I have no idea. I happen to know people who know him, and I have a good friend who used to work for him as a bodyguard. Did he do those things? Oh, yeah. And my friend only worked for him for a couple of months, and he saw it. When he came back from it, he just said, man, I'm glad I got fired, because if I didn't, I'd have been involved in some stuff. And that seems to be why he got, seemed to be part of it. Now, again, why? Because what is it? Was it something specifically about him? It has something to do with that lifestyle. He's an artist. And what is it that artists do? They reach into the chaos, they take the chaos, they make order out of it, and then they present it to the rest of us. You're a musician, there's only, 12 notes? So what do? You take those 12 notes, and then you bring them all together, and you put them into a song with a chorus and a beat and all that, and then you present that chaos that you made order out of, and you present it to the world. And the world can look at that order that you created and get a sense of chaos in themselves. Isn't that what happens when you listen to a song that you like a lot? Think about how sometimes, and maybe not you, but maybe there are people you know who behave in really strange ways. They just hear a beat, and then like, that's my jam. They start acting like silly. You just lost control of yourself, didn't you? Why? Because you're introduced to a thing that brought the chaos and the disorder out of you. Now, you can't go your whole life acting like that, because what happens if you go your whole life acting like that? Well, I just told you. You end up like fill in the blank. How many artists do you really like a lot? How many artists can you think of that have really calm, peaceful lives? No, they don't. They don't. Because anybody ever go to a concert? Anybody here been to concerts before? Yeah. You go to concerts and you end up dressing in a way oftentimes that you wouldn't normally dress in real life. Very few people just go in their closet and just grab whatever they're wearing and go wear that to the closet. Wear that to the concert. People start to dress in different ways, and oftentimes strange and unusual ways. People will go to a group gathering with people who similarly are dressed in outlandish ways, and then you'll engage in behavior that you wouldn't normally engage in real life. And there's a reason that concerts happen happen at night and not at 2:00 in the afternoon, because the evening and the dark brings out a different side of people. So you go there, you dress crazy, you act crazy, do things we normally, and then you do that for a few hours, and then you stumble home afterwards and you hit the taco shop on the way home. You talk with your friends like, that was fun, because you just went through a few hours of collective chaos with a whole bunch of people. Not really too different from a lot of church services, by the way. There's something to be said that there are parallels there. And then you drive home and you go to sleep. Maybe you sleep in the next day and you wake up and you go back to normal life. That artist who you just saw the night before, they move on to the next city and they do it again. And then they move on to the next city and they do it again and again and again, and that's their life. It's a life of constant chaos and disorder. It's a constant tension between taking things from the chaotic realm and making order out of it to present to everybody else, to bring a little bit of disorder out of us. Why? Well, because you have to have that chaos within yourself, that disorder within yourself, to give birth to a dancing star. Now, why a dancing star? That would take hours to unpack. Why Nietzsche refers to a dancing star. But whatever a thing is that you give birth to, something. Now, think about a star. Is a star ordered or is a star chaotic? Yeah, a little bit controlled by physics, but try to hold a star in your hands. Now, quite literally, of course, it would burn your hands, but also metaphorically. Think about what that means to try to give birth to a thing that's dancing and is incredibly powerful. Like a star is incredibly powerful. You ever see like real-time video of the sun or videos of the sun? The sun is not just like a ball that sits out in space and is hot. You ever see what it looks like? Like it actually looks like? It's plasma. It's undulating. That's what it's doing. And every once in a while it fires off a flare or something like that. It's not just a sphere that sits out there and looks like a circle. Try to get, if you can, go see get videos of what stars actually look like, and they're moving around, man. They're just like a gelatin or something like that. It's plasma. It's not a solid thing. The sun's not solid. It's not gas either. It's plasma. Now, what does that mean? It means that thing can blow off at any second, man. But that's also why we like that chaos too. It's that uncertainty that something might blow off at any second. But as long as it's somewhat controlled, like a roller coaster. You get on the roller coaster, it's exciting, it's thrilling, and you get a little bit nervous, a little bit scared sometimes, but you know you're not going to die. Imagine if you got into a roller coaster and half of all of the people who go on the roller coaster die. Would you still get on that roller coaster? Man, I don't know, several times a day the thing just goes flying off the tracks. Anyway, next. Is it like every other one? No. Sometimes we'll go like 15, 20 in a row that just get through, and then sometimes we'll go 15 or 20 in a row that will just fly off the tracks and everyone dies. Hard to tell. Anyway, you ready? We might be like, no. What if it was only a quarter? What if it was 10%? What if it was 1%? Everyone's got their threshold where that would be. Some people would just go with 0. If it's ever happened before, I would never do it. Some people would be like, half and half, let's do this. Yeah, you're open to experience. It's one of your personality traits. You might be an artist. And so there has to be some chaos in you to give birth to something that's fiery, but somewhat controlled. Whatever it is that you're creating. And this is one of the reasons that we like artists, because they bring out, I mean, think about that. We give so much money and so much attention. We read interviews. You ever read anything like, you ever read anything particularly insightful from any of your favorite artists? Couldn't you take their name off of some statement and put somebody else's name on there? Don't they pretty much say most of the same stuff as anybody else? It's like, I was just talking to someone recently, I don't understand like interviews with athletes. Like post-game press conferences. What are they going to tell you that you don't already know they're going to say? You ever get anything like deep and insightful and existential from your favorite baseball player after a game? Like, what are you hoping to get from that? Or like post-fight interviews. 2 guys just fought for 10 rounds, and then the guy gets in there with a microphone. So in the 3rd round, what were you trying to do there? Like, what do you think they're trying to do? They're trying to kill somebody. They're trying to not get killed and win a fight. What are you hoping to get out of those interviews? But we still like to listen to them. Why? Because it's not what they say, it's just the fact that they represent something. We like to watch athletes. Why? Because they represent a bit of chaos, because every sporting event is really just combat and it's war in a safe, controlled environment. It's a substitute for war. Why do we play football? Because it's a substitute for going to actual war and actually killing each other. Why is it we like to watch boxing? Same thing. Even tennis is just a substitute for war. Team sports are like this. And so we like to watch the interviews with the people. It's not because they're going to say something particularly insightful or intelligent. Not that they're going to be stupid either, but it's just because we want more of it, whatever it is. We've listened to the whole record. Now what? What's your opinion about the election? What's your opinion about abortion? What's your opinion about the minimum wage? Do any of these people have anything particularly insightful to say? No, but we want to hear it. Why? Because it's more of them. It's more of the thing that brings out the chaos in us, and we appreciate them for that. And what's the price they pay? They get lots of money for it, and they oftentimes end up crazy, insane. Their lives go to trash. Why? Because what do stars eventually do? They implode. They burn out. All stars burn out eventually. There's a few who might survive at the end of their lives, but for the most part, things don't go well for them. That's the price you pay for living in the chaos. It's a price that many of us are either incapable of paying or don't want to pay. Either way. But if you're going to create something in your life, you're going to have a little bit of that chaos, because it's the chaos that provides the need for change. It's the chaos that provides the need for creation. So, questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques? Happy Tuesday.